Hello, company, and welcome to the Show People podcast, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the UK performing arts industry and those dedicated to their craft. My name is Andrew Keats, theatre director and artistic director of Queer Theatre, and of course, your host. Today's guest is one of the UK's most loved drag artists, often found clad in tartan and performing an infamous medley in cabaret clubs, major theatres and cruise ships worldwide. From Glasgow to La Cage aux Faux, arenas with Bianca Del Rio to the Royal Vauxhall Tavern with Lola Lasagna. Please welcome to the Two Brewers stage, JP McCue, better known as Mary Mac.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
How long does it take you to look as fabulous as you do?
I know I've got slower as I've got older, which is to do with vision, shaky hands, and the lack of wanting to look at myself in a mirror. So by now I can do it all in about 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, top to bottom.
That's insane. And tell me, I want to know this. What's your very first memory of the Two Brewers Clapham?
My very first memory of the Brewers was coming here, I would say maybe about 15, 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the Duchess was on with a live piano player. It was someone's birthday. I think it might have been Lavoie's birthday. And there was like 10 acts on. I just started to dabble into drag, but no one knew. And I was just loving. It was a Sunday, which is like my favourite day at the Brewers anyway, still. And yeah, I just loved it. I loved watching really, really talented queens.
And what are you doing at the moment? I know you obviously do Sundays here, but where can people see you? What's your normal week like as a drag artist?
Now it's kind of all over the place. I do a lot of work at sea, mostly now. But then I still work in London, mostly now at the Two Brewers, but still sometimes Halfway to Heaven, Georgian Dragon occasionally. When I can, you know, I try and still be part of the scene as much as possible.
Why do you think queer spaces matter?
I think queer spaces matter because a community is what we need. And, you know, for people, especially people who are maybe just discovering themselves as queer, coming out, it's nice that now, compared to when I first started going out, we're accepted in a lot more places, genuinely across the board. But it's still important for people who are maybe not confident enough to be their true selves in any bar, that we have these spaces that are dedicated to feeling safe to be, you know, who you want to be on a night out.
And I mean, over the past, nearly 20 years of doing drag?
No, not quite. Thank you very much.
You said 18 years ago.
It's been a long day, but not quite 20 years.
How long has it been then, if you were here 18 years ago?
I think officially we're saying it's nearly 16 years.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
7 if you ask the tax man.
and over those 18 years, how has the community changed?
It's a funny thing, I guess. I think the community is stronger than ever. I think the pandemic kind of changed a lot of things for us as a community because we weren't able to be together in these spaces. Of course, we could all communicate online, and we were doing the live streams and whatever to kind of make sure people still had drag in their life, which was, you know, a lifesaver for me. But also I knew what it was doing for people, for their mental health and everything. And I think actually coming out of that, people were more willing to kind of engage again. I think maybe when I first started going out, people would chat and we'd meet people in bars. Then, of course, with Grindr coming in and all that kind of stuff, I think that faded away for a moment. But I see it more now. I mean, I'm more confident to just walk up to a random guy in a bar and be like, hey, how are you? Having a good night? Whereas I think that vanished for a while.
Do you not think that that's our generation, though? Like, I still find it amazing when, you know, I'll hear a twink say to me, I really like that guy. And I'll say, well, have you gone to say hello? They'll say, no, but I have sent them a message on Grindr. Like, do you not feel like our intimacy has changed over those nearly 20 years?
Oh, definitely, of course. And I think the only thing I would say to everyone is, you know, Grindr's there for what Grindr needs to be there for, and we all have a good time. But there is something about, and I didn't do it for a long time. I was very, very nervous and very self-conscious. But I do it more often now. I make myself, whether it's, for a romantic reason or whatever, even if it's just to be like someone, hey, you're having a good night. If you see someone on their own in a bar, I'm confident enough now to go like, and sometimes they pie you off and they don't want to talk to you, and that's absolutely fine as well. But I think there's something nice about saying hello to people in our community, and I'm talking all genders. If you see someone on their own at a bar, and of course sometimes they want to be left alone and that's fine, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, having a good night. I like that. I like people doing it to me now.
My memory of early great drag queens, many of which we both knew and loved, in many ways, the community drag queen would know everybody's business, particularly on something like a Sunday, and check in and know everybody's news and know what was going on with each other. Do you feel like we still have that in drag? Do we still have these drag leaders that know our community, as well as, say, the great Miss Jason or Regina Thong or indeed Lily Savage?
I think we probably do have it still. It's a different thing in terms of, I don't think people work the same venues as often anymore. Like sometimes, I remember when even I first started here, you'd be here maybe 3 times a week, and then things change and there's more. There's more queens than ever now, which is great. But I guess you don't see your audience or your friends as much. But because of social media, I know he's not here this week because he's in Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
So I know when he's in my audience next week, I can ask him all about Gran Canaria. So you still are able to keep in touch.
Let's go back in time. Let's start at the very beginning. Can you paint a picture of what your childhood was like?
Yeah, I was very lucky. I'm one of 5 kids.
Wow.
Yes, 4 boys and a girl, and my little sister is the youngest. And it's like a running joke in my family that if my mum and dad knew what I was going to do when I was older, they'd have stopped at 3. But I was very lucky in terms of I've always performed. It was very obvious from a very young age that that's what I was going to do. And my mum, who ended up raising us on her own, and she's the most incredible person. And if you don't know, my mum's name is Mary Mac, and that's why I'm called Mary Mac. Everything I do is for my mum. And I love her to death. But she was very keen because she could see the love and the joy that I got from being on stage and performing. And I'm talking even, doing school plays and, nothing professional at that point. So she did everything in her power to make sure I could go to stage school alongside academic school. And yeah, I was very lucky in terms of that. I never had teachers at school which they were saying to other people in my class who wanted to do performing and whatever, oh, well, what's your backup plan going to be? I think there was just something about how I held myself and how I talked about what I wanted to do, even from a very young age, that people were just like, okay, well, that's what they're going to do, and that's how they're going to make their living. And thank God it's worked out.
Can you remember those early performers that you looked at and idolized when you were growing up?
Yeah, I was very lucky. In terms of watching theatre, panto was a huge thing in Glasgow, still is. So I grew up watching amazing people like the Crankies, the late Gerard Kelly, who's a massive, massive idol of mine, Elaine C. Smith, who, if you watch Two Doors Down, she's Christine in Two Doors Down. And I've watched her since I was like 5, 6. And a lot of my comedy and the way I play a character comes from Elaine. I think she's an incredible actress. I've seen her do, a wide range of roles now, and I think she's just phenomenal. Scotland has such a wide range of incredible actors.
What do you think of the qualities your mum has that you do?
Thank God she can't sing or she'd have my career. But everything, my mum is probably the strongest person I've ever met, but the most hilarious as well. Like she is, I was in Sitges with her last week. She'd never been, and I took her to Sitges for the first time. And everybody fell in love with my mum. Like, they were just like, she's so funny, but she's so kind as well. And she, she'll slag people off, but she does it with this kind of glint in her eye that it's not mean and it's not nasty, but she'll take it as well. If you want to say something to my mum, game on. Like, she'll fight you for hours. And I think that's what I try and take from her, that you can be a queen and you can be cutting and you can be mean, but it has to come with the heart. It has to come with charm. Like Miss Jason, that's what I learned a lot of that from as well. Yeah, and just she's a very caring person, my mum.
Do you think she's proud of you?
Yeah, I know she is. And I'm so proud to have her as a mum. You know, and we joke about her being an ally, and of course she is an ally. She has a bag that says proud every day. And then she has another bag that's a Game of Thrones bag. And I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch anything with dragons in it. I think it's weird. But she's got a bag that says something like Mother of Dragons. I think that's a thing from the programme, I don't know. But she's rubbed out the ONS. So it says Mother of Drag. And she takes it, she loves it. She carries it around, she's like, yes. And yeah, so I know she's proud of me. She tells me she's proud. She tells us she's proud of us all. And that's all we want, you know, is now my mum, as we're all older, we just want to make sure my mum has the best life possible.
What was it like coming out to her?
Coming out was very strange, actually, because I was 21 when I officially came out. I mean, I don't think anyone was surprised, but she just, and I'd moved away by that point. I was living in London, which I'd done when I was like 17, so I was gone for a long time, very independent as a young person. And I remember I told her, and I only told her because I was in a relationship and I wanted them to meet him. And so I just said, oh, I have a boyfriend. And she cried her eyes out, and I thought, oh no, this is a nightmare. And she was like, no, I'm not crying because I'm upset or I'm angry or I'm sad. She said, I'm just so happy that I finally feel like I'm back in your life. Because she was like, I knew I had to let you go and do your own thing and find your own path. But I'm glad that now you feel confident enough to come back and let me in. So, and she's been there the whole time since then. And she took it upon herself to tell my entire family individually. I was like, okay, good luck.
And you said that your father was quite absent. How has that shaped you, not only as a performer, but also a person?
Genuinely, I don't think about it. And people, you know, back at home and family and things will talk about it. But I think I have such an affinity to my mum now that it doesn't really cross my mind. I think I was raised by my mum, you know, and I'm sure that has influenced me without me knowing in terms of my personality and my choices in life. But it's not, I don't feel like I missed anything at all, except learning how to shave properly, so don't zoom in. But that's probably the only thing.
Yeah, I share that with you. Again, it was me and my mum against the world. You know, I have some amazing memories of watching A Touch of Frost, curled up with my mum on a sofa having cheese and crackers. And I thought that was the most intimate thing that a mother and son could do, you know, sharing that, curling up on the sofa. And it's only in later life I look back and realize, no, that was all she could afford for dinner.
Wow, yeah.
And yet that bond between we can live through anything, I can make anything terrible wonderful, I think it's a really good preparation for working in the performing arts, because you just have to manage somehow.
1,000,000%. And that's what we were. You know, we were a family of 6, 5 kids and my mum. And at one point living in a 1-bedroom flat in Glasgow, you know, because my mum had no money. She didn't have to work originally. And then once everything, you know, changed, she had to go out, get jobs. She looked after other people's kids to, you know, get money and whatever. And the one thing, which is now why I try my best to look after my mum in any way I can, is that I never, ever, ever had to give up stage school.
Wow.
And that's through the amazing people who ran my stage school as well, who eventually gave me a full scholarship and all that kind of stuff. But at the beginning, you know, my mum was scraping the pennies to go and pay for it.
Do you think you still work so hard because you saw that work ethic growing up?
1,000,000%. Yeah. 1,000,000%. My mum, you know, has worked her socks off and still cares for she's a full-time carer for my Auntie Claire, who has cerebral palsy, and they are, why Channel 4 is not in that house doing a documentary right now is beyond me, because it's absolutely incredible.
Let's go to stage school. So you went to GAMTA?
I went to GAMTA, the Glasgow Academy of Musical Theatre Arts.
And you're sure that nobody knew you were gay before you went there, just to double check?
No, yes. I used to work reception.
Did you?
And the other receptionist would answer the phone and say, "Good evening, GAMTA." And I'd answer the phone and say, "Good evening, Glasgow Academy of Musical Theatre Arts. How can I help you?"
Happy memories or tough memories?
Amazing memories, yes. I went to stage school at the age of 7 and left at 17. So it was really my whole period of growing up and finding myself and as a young person. And I got to perform constantly. It was kind of training, but a lot of the training was on the job. And we would work as kids. I'd worked in TV and other professional theatre jobs, as well as the shows they were doing. So it was kind of constantly working.
Yeah, I noticed that. So what were some of the television shows you did when you were, I was going to say when you were little, but that's always
Still
been
little,
the case.
yeah.
But what were some of the early TV jobs you did as a kid?
I worked a lot with CBBC when it first started. It was based in Scotland, and we used to do things like the Saturday morning show with Fearne Cotton and Simon, whose surname I can't remember. And then at one point, I was so in at the BBC, like for doing these kind of kids shows, that they would then test all the new games with me, which was hilarious. So I was gunged at the BBC on a weekly basis, which is probably not something you want to admit nowadays, but still.
I'll wait for that documentary. Who was the presenter again? And so did you think television was going to be your medium? Did you think that...
No, luckily, a lot of the TV I did was live TV, because the things we did that were recorded, I found terribly boring. I hated having to go back and do things again. Even now, like if I'm filming, you know, even things for Instagram or promotional videos for Panto or whatever, I'm like, you're getting this once, because I can't stand doing it again. Because then you think too much about, oh, like, I'm going to be doing it. And obviously in rehearsals and things, that's what rehearsals are for. But when you're filming, it was not my game. I think I was okay at it. You know, I worked, I got jobs, but I'd like things to be live or in an environment where they didn't have time to do a million takes of something.
I went to 3 drama schools.
Goodness.
Which is why I'm in therapy. And
and debt.
And well, yeah. But not only that, it's my memory of drama school and our generation of when we were going to drama school, and a lot of them have changed. My memory is that thing of first year, we break you down, and then we build you back up. Sadly, the drama schools I went to weren't very good at the build you back up bit, but they were amazing at the break you down bit. What were some of the struggles at drama school? What were some of the things that were difficult? I mean, I remember thinking that I was the only person in the whole wide world who loved and knew musical theatre in the way that I did. And then I arrived, and there was 150 people, not only who knew the same, but were better.
I think it was such a different experience for me in terms of I was at the one place for 10 years. And because I was so busy as a kid and popular, and I worked and I was good, when I kind of got older and things like when my voice broke, everything changed. You know, like, because suddenly I had to relearn everything, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that I had to find a different way of doing everything. And then obviously when it became full-time training, that's a whole other thing, because they are really, I mean, at that point, the stage school I went to was kind of a stepping stone to one of the big colleges in London. Yeah. My year, when I graduated, was the first year to do an agent showcase straight from GAMTA, and then we all went and worked. So it was a whole different thing. And I think the hardest bit for me, certainly when I was like 15, 16, 17, was being able to go, one, I don't have to be the best. That's why I'm in training. I should be learning things. But kind of having to say, okay, well, that's all right that I'm rubbish at that, because I'll learn to be better at it. And if not, then that's not my thing. So I think that was my struggle of being like, stop trying to be the best at everything, because some things you'll be okay at, and that's also okay.
What were the classes you used to dread?
Contemporary dance. Contemporary dance, because it was barefoot, and I hate people's feet.
Not even some Scottish dancing, perhaps?
No, we didn't do any Scottish dancing, unfortunately. I quite loved ballet. I wasn't very good at it, but I did love it. I loved the discipline of it all, and the music was beautiful. Everything else I loved. I loved voice, I loved singing, and drama was, you know, my thing. I loved drama. I loved reading plays was my favorite thing to do. Like, just sit round and read a new play, because then you just find new things and new ideas.
Who was the teacher at drama school that really got you?
I had my 2 main teachers, Stuart Bird and Sharon Graham, who were like the principals of the school at the time when I was there, were literally like a second family to me, and like a new mum and dad, you know, like my stage mum and dad, I guess. And literally, I mean, we still all talk now, and I know I wouldn't be the person, let alone the performer I am, because they really looked after us, you know, because they knew a lot of us from when we were tiny, tiny kids to sending us off into the big bad world.
And what were some of the earliest roles that you played?
I played Oliver at the age of 7 or 8, and I got told off. I got told off for two different things. I got told off by my classmates that I'd got Oliver because I was new, and the new person was never meant to get the lead role. And I was like, oh, my fault. I just sang it really well.
Horrible children.
And then I got told off in tech rehearsals because I'd lost my voice. And I'd only lost my voice because I competed in my school's talent show that day and sang When You Say Nothing at All by Ronan Keating 10 times in a row. But yes, and then I did panto from the age of like 8 and 9. And then I'm probably one of the youngest people ever. And it wasn't right, it was terrible to play Sweeney Todd. I played Sweeney Todd when I was 15.
Wow, where?
Oh, 15, 16, one or the other. In like our end of year show. And I wasn't meant to do it. I was the cover. But the boy who was playing it, who was my wonderful friend Gianni, got the Joseph programme, so vanished. So they had to put me up, and it was like the smallest. I couldn't even reach the chair to slice people's throats. They had to put a step on the back of the chair because I couldn't reach. It's a true story.
So you come to the end of GAMTA. Where do you go to go from that lovely, safe environment into the wilderness? Where does it take you?
Straight to London.
Wow.
Yeah, at 17, which was crazy. But I'd been there a lot. I mean, I think I first went to London when I was 13. Stuart and Sharon took me actually to see my first West End show, which was The Lion King. And but then being in London at 17, as I'm sure a lot of you know, is wild because you're just suddenly out there and running around and doing a lot of crazy things.
Like
Going out. And obviously, like, my problem was I look relatively young. If anyone knows me out of drag, don't you dare laugh. Now, so at 17, I mean, I looked like a child. So I used to have to sneak into clubs under people's jackets and things.
Was the Two Brewers one of them?
No, I never snuck into the Two Brewers, actually, but a lot of the central London ones that I'm not allowed to name because I now work for them.
And how did you find London?
I loved London. I thought London was really exciting. And I think because I was so young in Glasgow and I was training so hard, we didn't go out a lot. We'd have parties and things, but we wouldn't go out clubbing and things like that. So I think it was discovering a kind of new side to my life. And it was still all the same friends. Obviously, we made more friends when we were here, but we were a very tight group of friends and we would socialise all the time, go and see theatre and then obviously work front of house. That's one of the first jobs I did in London.
Which theatre?
Where did I work first? The Victoria Palace for Billy Elliot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I used to cry every night because I think it's one of the most beautiful shows in the world.
I agree.
And I'd still cry and everyone's like, you work here? I'm like, I know, but it kills me. And it was wonderful. They'd always say, you go up right up to the upper circle so no one can see you crying.
And how else did you survive? Like how did you begin other than, front of house? How did you survive? Any other survival jobs?
No, I worked front of house. I was auditioning for things. I guess at that point, and shared a house with like 6 people. We lived in a massive house in Hammersmith with lots of, there was no, I don't know the word, communal, is that the word? Communal spaces? Other than the kitchen. And we loved the kitchen because we'd be in there, we'd be singing and jumping around and everything. But the living room was a bedroom, the dining room was a bedroom, But that was amazing as well. And that was, the first few years of my life in London. I loved it.
And when did the transition start to happen where you found yourself leaning towards drag rather than musical theatre?
It kind of all happened by accident, I guess. I was out of work. I'd been lucky. I'd done a few bits and bobs. I was working and I was auditioning lots and getting to the finals for lots of things. But everyone was just like, it was so strange because obviously we'd done the same training to an extent, but I'm then in this room with people from Mount View and Guildford and whatever, who were up for the same roles as me, but they were about 5 years older than me because they were going to first year at 20 or 21.
Yeah.
And I was still 17 at that point, or 18, auditioning for things, So when you go up for Wicked and they're like, well, yeah, you look like a university student, whereas now the people next to you will now look like your dad. We can't put you in the ensemble because you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So it kind of got to a point where a lot of the casting directors, my agent at the time, were like, look, we have to find you something else to do because you're super talented and we think, you know, you can do great things, just not yet. You know, to find something else to do. So I was like, what the hell do I do? And I'd done Dame in Panto before, so I knew I could do a face and a bit of a character and whatever. So I put this show together above the Stag when it used to be in Victoria.
No way.
Yes.
Peter Bull and everyone.
Yes, because we used to drink in there all the time when we were working at Billy Elliot.
Of course.
So I just asked if I could have the space upstairs one Sunday afternoon. And me, my wonderful musical director at the time, Matt Gregory, James Gillan, and who was a great friend because we knew him through Wicked and everything, and my friend Gianni, who I trained with, did this random drag show called A Midsummer Night's Drag. And that's kind of where Mary first ever appeared.
So that was the first on-stage appearance.
For Mary Mac, yeah.
How has Mary differed? What was that early Mary Mac like?
She'd sing all the time. She wouldn't talk at all.
Oh, really?
I was terrified to speak, so and I knew I could sing, so I was just like, here's a song, and then this next song's about this song, and then this is the song. And because I must have sung about 20 songs in that show, whereas now, you're lucky if you get 2 in the medley. 2 songs in the medley, that's what the drag queens know me as.
So how do you go from I am part of this show to your first booking as a drag artist?
I auditioned for a drag panto, which was at Leicester Square, I think, maybe, I can't remember now. And on the panel was the director, Leslie Joseph, of course, because you can't do panto without Leslie Joseph popping up.
But she was on the audition panel.
On the audition panel.
Oh, that's camp.
Bette Rins,
Amazing.
who is a legendary queen, if you don't know who she is, look her up, she's wild, and Louis Spence. And they were filming it for Louis Spence's show business.
Ah, I see.
And anyway, we did the auditions. I thought I did quite well, but they chose someone else, which was fine, you know, that's the way things go. But Louis was convinced they'd got it wrong and said, well, I want to keep Mary as part of the TV show. So they ditched the whole storyline of the panto and just brought me in and kind of followed me around and created this kind of act for me with Bette Rins, who then became, although I wouldn't have known the term at the time, but I do now, she kind of became my drag mother.
Yeah.
And what she would do is just have me as guest spots in her shows, get me to host her karaoke when she couldn't do it. And that's where I learned the scene, how to, you know, work a crowd and control an evening. So, you know, realistically, most of this is thanks to Bette Rins.
There's going to be a lot of people listening to this, or indeed watching this, who are at the beginnings of their drag career. What kind words would you have to that younger version of yourself and all the grand ideas that you had that were just wrong?
I would say yes, lots. Don't worry about the money at the minute. You know, go in, do it. Work with other queens. So many queens, I think now, because, I mean, drag is a different monster now. And a lot of people think, you know, I can do it on my own. Other queens still help me now. You know, I find out things from other queens. Marsha Mallow's just taught me a new way to do my eyebrows. I'm thrilled. Which has saved me about 20 minutes getting ready, genuinely. And I was like, oh my God, I've never known you could do that. I mean, ask me again at the end of the podcast if my eyebrow's falling off. But yeah, listen to other queens, work with other queens, go and watch other queens. I spent most of Brighton Pride last weekend just watching other queens because it fills me with joy, and you go, oh, I could do something like that. That the audience are loving this, or they love it. You know, in different venues, love different things, and that's how you find out what those audiences like.
Who were those important drag queens that you watched that has shaped the way you've become?
Way back then, Bette Rins, obviously. Sandra. I remember the very first time I saw Sandra, I just couldn't believe what was coming out of her mouth. Nothing's changed.
Was it the same 7 songs?
Yes. And then, of course, once I started coming to the Brewers, Miss Jason, Charlie Hides, you know, and that was a whole other thing. That was characters, and that was a different kind of drag that I didn't know was a thing. Impressions, and I love doing impressions now and things. Yeah, back then, so many amazing queens.
It seems like you were really drawn to the theatricality. Because, you know, whether it's Jason, whether it's Bette Rins, Charlie Hyde, certainly, you know, all of them loved the theatre and loved acting and loved variety, you know, rather than necessarily your traditional your traditional drag queen that we would associate nowadays. Like all great comedians in their own right.
100%. And I think that's what I love now about drag. And listen, I love doing a Friday night or a Saturday night in a big club, and you go out and you do all the big songs, you dance and you'll have a good time. But for me now, and it certainly wasn't that in the beginning, there is nothing I love more than a Sunday afternoon here where everyone sat down, nobody's too drunk yet, and it's fine if you are. But people listen and they want to talk to you, they want to have a conversation, they want to suggest songs, they want to come up with things. And actually it's where you find most of your new material.
Yeah. What makes a great drag artist?
Oh gosh, what a question. What makes a great drag artist? Someone who cares.
Yeah.
And I think cares about themselves, cares about how they present themselves, cares about the content of their show, and then most importantly, cares about the venues and the audience. Because without the venues and the audience, you go and do it in your bedroom. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that as well. If that's what you love and you have a good time taking your pictures and your videos, amazing. But for me, it's about the audience every time.
And you mentioned Above the Stag, but who were the venues that really gave you your first breaks? I know this was one of them.
Yes. Right at the very beginning, 79 CXR, way back when.
May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace. Admiral Duncan is where I had my first ever residency on a Tuesday night. Mary Mac's Tuneful Tartan Tuesdays, way back when. And then Molly Moggs.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, I was kind of running around doing everything. And then eventually ended up here. And I think from getting the gig at the Brewers about 10 years ago, I think it's 10 years next year I've been doing Sundays, everything kind of just suddenly elevated. Because I think still now, if you are a regular working queen at the Brewers, people see you at a different level.
Yeah, I agree. And it's got a history.
Yeah.
You know, I still find with all the events that we do here, like this place was founded in 1981. You know, this place existed throughout the AIDS crisis, throughout the changing of the legal age of consent. You know, communities, drag artists have been in this space and performed throughout the decades and fought for us.
Yes.
And we will be in those chapters as it continues with the fights that we have today. I really think the Two Brewers doesn't get enough respect for the institution that it is. You and I both owe so much of our lives to the kindness of the people that run it. I really think it needs to be applauded. So tell me how, as you were doing so well, tell me when you started to pine for theatre. When did that start to come in?
Well, I think that's always been there. I think I was, I was lucky when I first left college and when I was younger to work in theatre a lot. And then obviously when Mary kind of took off, or I certainly realised people would pay me money to do it, I kind of went away and concentrated on Mary for a long time. And then I guess probably when I started to see more queer theatre appearing and theatre that had drag at the forefront of it, I thought, oh, well, wait a minute here. I think there's a little chance of a crossover back into what I spent my life training to do. Like when things like Priscilla first came out, and I was too young at that point to be anywhere near Priscilla, but it was such an eye-opener for me. And anytime anyone visited me in London, I'd take them to Priscilla because it was so exciting and it was so, huge and amazing and such a massive celebration of drag. So then when things like Jamie came along and Lacage, obviously, which has been around for a long time, but even when they did the Chocolate Factory version, again, I was probably too young to even ensemble it, but I went and saw it about 10 times. I think I think I saw every different album from the Chocolate Factory right down to the Playhouse version.
Wow.
Because I just loved it so much.
Do you think as an actor you've now been typecast as, well, JP only does drag now?
No, people ask me to do other things, and I'm just not there yet.
Okay.
The right thing hasn't come along yet. That I want to give not that I'd give this up for, but that I'd be seen out of it for.
And just as we're coming to the end of our first part, or episode 1, before a whole new audience arrives,
You're just going to make everyone swap seats. I hope you brought a change of tops, everybody.
One of the biggest forces on drag artists at the moment is, of course, RuPaul's Drag Race. Is it a force for good?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I can't say. That's a very loaded question.
Yes.
Look, a lot of the things that I've been fortunate enough to do are because of people that have come off of that show. You know, working with Bianca and working at Heaven with all these amazing queens. So in that sense, I think it's a great thing, or else I'd have never met these people. Who knows, but maybe not. Do I think everyone on there is a warranted drag performer? Yes, I would say they are. Does it mean I'll go and watch most of them? Probably not. No, listen, I think the show is... I don't watch the show anymore. It doesn't really... I watch the clips online of my friends and stuff, but I'm not an avid fan. There goes my season 8 audition. But I think there's other ways to do it, but if that's the way you want to do it, absolutely go for it. And it's done amazing things for so many of my close friends. You know, I was with Danny Beard at the weekend, and Danny is flying now. I mean, I think Danny would have probably flown anyway.
Yeah, me too.
It might have just taken a little bit longer, and that's fine. Look, I'm one of these ones, I'm in it for the long haul, so we'll see what happens. But never say never. I'll see you. Hi, World of Wonder. Hi. I love all your other shows. Yeah.
Do you think lip syncing is a talent?
Yes.
Really?
I will tell you this. I was in Lisbon 2 weeks ago. We were invited. We came off of an Atlantis gay cruise as shells of drag queens, me, Sherry Vine, and Bianca Del Rio. And we were invited to this tiny bar in Lisbon called Manny's. And they knew Manny from New York. And Manny now lives in Lisbon and has opened this cabaret bar. Gorgeous, gorgeous person. And they had 2 queens on who lip sync. And when I tell you, all 3 of us, and we were a big group, but we were the 3 queens, we were gobsmacked. The lip syncing was to die for. This queen, Chloe, did Shirley Bassey's I Am What I Am, right? Mm-hmm. Which is one of my favorite songs in the world, and I think Shirley does it incredibly. When I tell you, this queen had every breath, eye movement, lip movement, that to a T. The place was silent. It was like a dinner restaurant thing. Silence, watching this tiny little queen do Shirley Bassey. And it was phenomenal. And probably the best lip sync I've seen in years. So I think there is a talent to it, and there's some people who do it brilliantly. I mean, there's a production and there's costumes, and I can go and watch a full lip sync show as long as there's production around it. Do you know what I mean? I think, could anyone get up and lip sync I Want to Dance with somebody? Yeah, probably. My mum could. She got no rhythm, so she wouldn't dance, but she could do the words. So I think there's, but the same for live drag as well. There's elements of scales of talent. Is that the way to say it nicely?
I mean, I just think it would be an atrocity if, say, you ended up going on the show, that as you are such an amazing singer and you sing with such heart, and indeed, you know, all of our great British drag queens have sung, even those who shouldn't still continue to sing.
Yes.
Mentioning no names. The idea of you being on that show and having to lip sync as a justification of you as a drag queen, and indeed that to be the way of judging you, feels like a really stupid thing.
I think, look, if I was on that show and I had to, I'd go for it. I'd just do the back bend as many times as I could. But I think there's a real skill to it, and there's some people who are phenomenally talented lip syncers. I've seen them in America, and you know, and also around the UK, people like her. Her, the Queen, is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And she puts so much care into her productions and character choices and the mixes she does and the videos. You know, I think things like that, you can still see the work. It's about what work you put into it. Have you just selected a Jennifer Lopez song and come on and done it and spun round and hit the floor a few times? Mm-hmm. Then, all right, sure, Queen. Have you come on with your own VT that you've made graphics for? You've filmed yourself as another character behind yourself. You're in full cosplay as Lord Farquaad from Shrek or whatever. You know, I'm like, that's drag. Whether she's doing it live or not, that is drag. So I think, you know, there's room in the world for us all.
And lastly, would you go on the show?
Would I go on Drag Race?
Yeah.
If it moves to ITV and there's 100 grand at the end of it, probably.
I think that is the perfect way to end part one. For our audience here at the Two Brewers, we'll now be taking a 15-minute interval, so please do grab yourself a drink at the bar. For those tuning in at home, backstage, or maybe out of space, make sure you like and subscribe to the Show People podcast to be notified of part two with JP when it's released. We'd like to send our gratitude to our fantastic sponsors. Theatre Counts, the entertainment industry's trusted accountants, looking after thousands of clients across theatre and performance. Connect with them at theatrecounts.co.uk or at theatrecounts on social media. Jake Waby Productions, London's experts in theatre and live performance videography, capturing your stories just the way you want them. From West End shows to global content, their experienced team delivers exceptional cinematic storytelling. And a huge thank you to Liam Chaplin, the Two Brewers, and all their gorgeous staff. This podcast is proudly produced by Queer Theatre, committed to telling LGBTQ+ stories and nurturing queer talent. If you've enjoyed this podcast and would like to support our work, please consider making a donation at queertheatre.co.uk, where you'll also discover details about our weekly acting classes for LGBTQ+ people, the Queer Play Reading Club, showcases, networking events, parties, and masterclasses. If you're queer, come and be a part of our community. And if you're not, come and be an ally and support our shows like coming to see the Show People podcast live. Finally, please put your hands together for our extraordinary guest, JP McCue, aka Mary Mac. Until next time, love always.